It's a big day. It's a big day. It is the anniversary, sadly, of the death of 13 American soldiers that were killed in our withdrawal from Afghanistan. And so Donald Trump, in my estimation, did the right thing. He went to Arlington Cemetery. He laid a wreath at Arlington Cemetery in honor of those soldiers. Like, the right thing to do. Again, former president, running for president. And somehow CNN got really mad about this. Somehow CNN felt that this was inappropriate for him to do. It's really sort of bonkers, because the truth is, Kamala should have done it. Joe should have done it. But, Joe's like hanging out on the beach on vacation somewhere again. I don't know if it's a working vacation. That's how he'd classify it, right? And then you have Kamala Harris, who's too busy running for president to bother going and laying a wreath at a cemetery. But this withdrawal from Afghanistan, don't forget, was awful. I mean, some 170 people in Afghanistan were killed there in that withdrawal. You had 13 Americans that did not deserve to die. But it was rushed. It was poor planning. And CNN says he has no right to be there. This is just a political stunt. Oh, please, spare me. Watch.
To the campaign a little bit. This morning, former President Trump was at Arlington National Cemetery, where he marked the 3-year anniversary of the bombing that killed 13 service members during the Afghanistan withdrawal. This is someone who, according to his own former chief of staff, said Americans who died in war are, quote, suckers and losers. Trump denies that, although John Kelly confirms that Trump did say that. He more recently said a civilian award is, quote, better than the Medal of Honor. You're a former Army Ranger. Is he politicizing these soldiers' deaths? Should he even be at Arlington National Cemetery if he's going to make some politics out of this?
Okay. And then the answer is basically yes, right? Because that's how these guys roll. I'm sorry. You know what? Your candidate, CNN, had to go to the beach. He didn't do the right thing. The GOP candidate did do the right thing, the humane thing to do, and yet you're going to throw a fit and suggest this is entirely otherwise motivated. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's politics involved here. Why? Oh, because it just so happens that the president and the vice president, Kamala Harris, along with their Secretary of State, who even John McCain was like, don't ever give this guy a job in the administration. He didn't even want him being the Deputy Secretary of State under Obama because, quote, he will get Americans killed. Well, sure enough, sadly, horrifically, we watched that together. It was one of the few times I felt myself really overcome with emotion. Again, I'm just looking at the live chat and trying to see if Leslie's here, because I remember, Leslie, I mean, you were very sweet at that time. I was like, I'm getting so emotional. I can't believe how emotional I am about this. I cover news all the time. I've been in all kinds of situations, but watching that unfold, knowing the whole while that it didn't need to be like that, was really, really unfortunate, guys. Well, Donald Trump, he knows that. He's making a big deal of it. You can say it's political, but my gosh darn it, somebody ought to be there trying to help out, trying to do anything that they can. I want to show you some video of Donald Trump that we have that just came in. He's talking about how horrific this is. I mean, think about it. On the day that none other than Tulsi Gabbard comes out in support of him, rather fitting. Here's Donald Trump.
This month marks the 3-year anniversary of the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. Kamala and Crooked Joe's catastrophic withdrawal from Afghanistan has just been horrible for all of us. 3 years ago, Kamala and Biden's incompetence left 13 dead warriors, hundreds of civilians killed and grievously wounded, and $85 billion worth of the finest military equipment on the planet abandoned to the Taliban, right into the hands of the Taliban. It also left 45 incredible soldiers so badly wounded, the legs, the arms, the face, obliteration. As Vice President, Kamala bragged that she was the last person in the room. She was the tough one. She was the last person in the room during that disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan decision. She repeatedly praised the decisions, and she said it led to a catastrophe, but it was worth it. The incompetence and weakness on display from the Biden-Harris administration was an insult to every soldier, sailor, airman, and Marine who ever served in our U.S. military. As we mark this horrible occasion, we mourn with the families of the great American heroes who lost their lives 3 years ago, and we vow to never forget the supreme sacrifice they made for our country. America cannot afford 4 more years of Kamala Harris in the White House. She is a disaster. She's a radical Marxist. She destroyed San Francisco. She destroyed the state of California. Everything in her way she destroyed. She ran against crooked Joe Biden and she lost. She was the first one out of 22 people. She was the first one to quit. She never even in the primary made it to Iowa. And this is not a person that should be running right now. She didn't get 1 vote. I'm not a fan of Biden at all. I thought he was the worst president in history. I think she's the worst vice president in history. But she got no votes. He got 14 million votes. They staged a coup. And something like that's not supposed to happen in our country. Under my leadership, our nation will be strong and respected like never before. And I will keep America safe. I will keep it safer than ever before. And if I'm not elected, I truly believe you're going to end up in World War III and you're going to end up in a depression, the likes of 1929. Thank you very much.
So quite a warning coming from Donald Trump and from his campaign, a warning that was echoed by the likes of Tulsi Gabbard earlier today, stressing that she was very concerned about our military position. But you're not going to hear about this, not in the left-wing media. Nope. In fact, it's amazing to me. Coming out of the convention, how do you like this? This is a New York Times headline that we had to sit with for kind of a while. Oh, do I not have that? Anyway, they were saying how it was Kamala Harris, all about the art of the possible. There we go. What drives Kamala Harris? The art of the possible, please. And then there was this guy over on ABC News that wanted to equate her to Reagan. I hope you're not eating.
Donald Trump has tried to define her. You know, they talk about her, the Republicans, the Trump Republicans, as a San Francisco liberal, as a radical. They call her Comrade Kamala. But she gave a speech, George, that if you take out that section on abortion rights, much of this speech could have been delivered at a Republican convention before Trump. She talked tough on Iran. She promised that as commander-in-chief, America would have the most lethal and strongest fighting force in the world. She talked tough on Russia.
You know, I don't think many people are buying her on that military thing. And to Trump's point earlier about this whole thing being a rush job and really being shameful, I'll tell you what, when the Gold Star fathers who lost a child in that botched, rushed event feels pretty strongly about all of this. Let's watch his appearance with John Bachman on Newsmax earlier.
I think, honestly, that they would even be doing what they're doing right now, but if she wasn't running for president. I mean, it's clear. They've made it very clear to us. We've reached out to the White House trying to set appointments to meet with them to get answers. It falls on deaf ears.
You see, because they don't really, really care. And so when CNN thinks that this is a political stunt, it's like they're only wired that way. They're only wired in terms of seeing things as a win or a loss to their campaign. And this is win at all costs. And that's pretty alarming, especially when you think about at what costs, at all costs, at what costs.